Good morning. The Ranter is back to go into yet another rambling diatribe of the news of the day. And after a bit of soul searching, contemplating, weighing the pros and cons, I come to the startling realization that President Donald Trump is right. Yes. Seems odd for me to say such things. But when you get down to it, and you untense the clench of Trump derangement syndrome, you open yourself to the possibilities and the probabilities of all the things that you were fighting against was right all along. This is going to be a long video because simple facts and truth requires no long duration of explanation. So, I will just go over a simple list of the various things that Donald Trump is doing that is correct and right for our country. And as I loathe to admit to being wrong, well, I cannot help but admit to being wrong upon this great man. So let's take all of the points that are usually the points of contention and put them in the proper and true and honest and factual clarity. His mass deportations. Now, on the surface, this looks like a scatter shot of just grabbing people who are not the proper skin pigmentation, or perhaps just, wearing various tattoos or something that would clearly indicate that they are gang-related people, especially those gang-related people that wear tattoos that symbolizes and acknowledges the autism of their 15-year-old brother. The little ribbon that's for autism. Clearly that's a ploy. That's an illusion. Because that's truly a gang tat. Clearly. Those who are far more religious than I am, who would tout things like the Good Samaritan, and how we should be treating the other with respect that God commands it. Obviously, they're not reading the new up-to-date version of the Bible that has been produced for $49.99 by Donald Trump, wherein it says in the very fine print about those things, but in the big bold letters, it says, no, do not concern yourself with being a good Samaritan. Be concerned yourself being a good American first person. And what that means is that those who are not American first has to be first out the door. And whether you are gang-related, or you are a violent person, or you have committed assaults or rapes or murders or robbery, or you're just holding down 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet, and making the bare minimum of money, which is why you are doing 3 or so jobs to make ends meet, because you were lured into this country to provide cheap labor and paid the wages of a cheap labor. So do not concern yourself that it seems indiscriminate, because clearly there is a vetting process. Because after all, our presidential administration under President Donald Trump has made it perfectly clear that regardless of the crime that you may or may not be committing, that they say, and by them, by extension, we as the American people say, you are committing, whether that's factual or not, The underlying fact is you're here illegally, so that makes you a criminal, regardless of how peaceful and how benign and how productive and how good for the community, or how much of a good neighbor you are, or how much of a good person you are, or your spouses, or your relatives, or your children. You are illegal, so you got to go. And I applaud this administration in the choices of when they send these people away. They send them to El Salvador. Because why not this country, turn a profit of our deportation by selling people to El Salvador, who will be then put into the position of slave labor. I love the loophole of us getting back into the slave trade. Once again, fabulous. Chef's kiss. Anyway, so that's deportation. Now, Signalgate. I don't know how many times that we have to explain to our Trump deranged syndrome folk out there that this is such a no big deal. This is a nothing burger. You should be happy with how the mission was accomplished, how we got that terrorist and the Houthi rebellion. I mean, it was a success, right? No one died except for the people that we wanted to kill. Well, they died, but none of our planes crashed. No one hit them from SAM sites, because it was just a pesky, journalist that found his way onto Signal, from nefarious means. He totally hacked his way in. And when I mean hacked in, of course I mean he was invited in by Mike Walls. But be that as it may, they weren't discussing war plans on there. No. They testified before Congress and the Senate that they did not conduct war plans over the Signal chat. You can trust them. I mean, they're the heads of the CIA and the DNI and the FBI and various generals. I mean, for all the National Security Council was on there, and using only the most technical of terms, discussing this seemingly not classified manner of clearly not war plans when they're discussing the flights of of our warplanes and the time when they would arrive and the time they would attack and then the further attack of the second attack. Again, not classified, not at all. But using great and very sophisticated terminology of a fist and the American flag and fire. You see, I can understand how this is going over your head, that this is highly technical, very, very adult usages of emojis, because again, I like you was suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, but then I saw the light. It's right there. Anyway, so really, there's nothing to it. What you really should be really concerned about, not the fact that we've totally, was successful in our mission to kill the terrorists, at the girlfriend's house, destroying that building and the collateral damage of whoever could be in that possible building that has nothing to do with any Houthis whatsoever. Let's laugh about that. Because, again, fire. Murdering people. Fire. Yes. American way. So don't concern yourself with those, like, the liberal talking points of this being the violation of national security that we've seen in our recent memories or so forth. I mean, you should be more concerned about this evil, evil journalist of this rag, the Atlanta. I mean, God, just him breathing on this chat. It's just it should cover you with skeevies and hives. You should not listen to what he reports, or the fact that he was on this signal chat. No. Just be outraged that he was there at all in this conversation that was completely not classified. This was just an everyday conversation. They were just chatting. They were just texting and chatting. There was nothing important about that. I mean, would you really think that, like, President Trump's envoy, who was in Moscow, would be chatting on something so serious as about the preparations of an airstrike? Of course not. Just put that out of your mind. So that out of the way. Next, Trump is absolutely right that we must claim Greenland by any means necessary. I mean, those indigenous folk, I mean, does it matter what they really think? I mean, they only live there, right? I mean, in Denmark. What would they want to continue to control Greenland for? Clearly, that is supposed to come to us for our national security. We need to expand. We need breathing room. And, sure that for the past, I don't know, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 70 years. Sure that we have never made a serious attempt of negotiating away, buying, or taking by force aggressively the continental island of Greenland for our strategic purposes. But we need to now. And sure, no Republican Party in the past 70 or so years had it on this platform as an official addendum to their political planning and machinations, the taking of Greenland for our national security. But we need it now. It's vital for our national security to have Greenland. Because if we don't have Greenland, just imagine what would not happen. But it is very imperative that we have Greenland. We must take it. We must take it now. We must make it free land. We must use it and be vigilant and guard against our adversaries that Greenland would naturally be a bulwark against. Like Russia. Our kind of adversary, but really not really our adversary, Russia, that, even though now it is imperative for us to have this bulwark against Russia, except for the past, during that time frame between 1950 up to the end of the 80s, when we were actually in a Cold War where we had actual missiles actually pointed at us. No. See, you don't understand. Once again, it's just, obviously you're trapped in the death spiral of your woke politics and woke skewed American history to realize that when the actual viable threat was going on with missiles pointing at us was not the most dangerous point. The most dangerous point is now. And we must have Greenland for our national security now. And don't concern yourself with the why. Once again, the very liberal woke DNI practice of critical thinking is just is plaguing you. It's not making you happy. Critical thinking does not make you happy. Critical thinking provides clarity. And come on, do we really want to be clear about things? Really? Can't you just trust in the dear leader? I mean, Trump is looking out only for you. So we must have Greenland. We must. Next. Canada. Canada. Come on. Come on. Canada. 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 We're talking here. We're talking. You have been the hat for the United States for centuries. It's about time that you join in our reindeer games. Oh yes. Canada must. It's imperative to become a 51st state. The whole of Canada. All of it. No. And I mean, sure. Canada in its own country, they divided their country up into separate provinces, much like the states of the United States. But, we're Americans. We don't have attention of detail. We'll just take all of it. The big wide swath of Canada will all be our state. And why are they even hesitating on this? Everyone should want to be American. Should want to be a member of the United States of America. Own autonomous sovereignty. Really? Come on, don't you just give up the ghost. Give up the pretension. Your experimental independence was fun and cute, but really, it's time. It's time. It's time to join the fold. Trump's expansion to extend the American influence, to make the world American. Except for those parts of the world that we're totally on board of allowing Vladimir Putin to take over. But outside of that, it is by right. It is by the fates. It is by the word of God that Canada has to join the United States of America. And we will, and in our zeal of bringing Canada into the fold, totally willing by economically crushing them to the point where they have no choice but to submit to our will. We will completely ignore, the political makeup of Canada, the majority makeup of Canada, because I'm sure if once we succeed in imperialistically crushing the independent sovereignty of Canada, that the vast majority of those Canadians who are far more liberal than the liberals of the United States of America, that will be no bearing in future elections. They'll just be happy to be here. Let's see. What else? What else is our great and mighty MAGA Trump right about? Let's see here. Oh, tariffs. All tariffs. Okay. See, once again, I had the wool over my eyes. I did not realize the genius of tariffs. The genius of forcing us to only buy American. So, American manufacturers, that's great. We should be doing that. We should be pro-America, America first. Never mind that every stitch of clothing that our President Donald Trump wears is made from other countries. Never mind the majority of items that is found in the gift shop at the Trump Tower is made outside of America. Don't worry, all those things will get tariffed too. Probably. No, maybe. Anyway, but it is a very vital importance of our American firstness, that the firstness of our economics be American first, that the things that we should be buying should be bought only in America. And to that end, we have to cause severe amounts of pain to our consumers by, if they dare to buy non-American goods from these places that we're going to tariff up the ass, then they must suffer. They must suffer for the truth. And I mean those who are actually in the consumer class that are middle or low or low scale in the economics, because President Trump and the CEOs that array around him, they're not going to feel any pain. And you should be grateful for them not to feel any pain. Do you want Donald Trump to feel pain, some economic pain? You know, it's like as if you would want him to feel some sort of consequences for his actions. Who would want that? But no. We have to suffer in order for us to make us grow. That is every bit about, evolution. It takes a little discomfort to make you evolve to so overcome it. That's the only type of evolution that we will ever get taught, because, evolution is the devil. But, the liberal talking points of this, because that these simple and honest and pro-America, America First tariffs, it's going to cause a trade war with Canada or China or all the other countries that we're going to do tariffs on. I mean, don't you understand the genius of using 19th century economics that evolves the economics of that century and applying it to a 21st century world? It's genius. It's stable genius. Yes. So forget whatever you were taught in economic class or whatever you learned in college, because, college is for the elites and suckers anyway, right? That's why, going into the next subject, the genius, the alloy, stable genius of destroying our Department of Education. Because, really, folks, do you really think that every child needs to have a proper education? Or have the opportunity of it? Or, every child that, is not a red-blooded, cis, hetero, male, white man, that will soon be a white man, should share the excellence of education with everyone else? And, and I'm not talking about the skin pigmentation demographic here, because, we can only go so far backwards, and some ships have sailed. No, but I'm talking about those who have, special needs. Special needs that we have to be addressed, that have to be respected. Really? I mean, we're there's too much time being wasted on the special needs when we can simply be awesome with our educational prowess of saying 2 + 2 = Jello. No. Public education's got to go, because by the very, very basic fact that our betters and our betters' children should be the ones that should be provided higher education, because they are destined to run the companies, while we lower folk that is beholden to President Trump and his allies, we are only supposed to be educated just enough to, be able to properly do the paperwork with very, very minute, maybe 35% spelling errors and grammar errors, because in reflection of the documentation we have seen so far from, say, Doge or any addendums of the Trump administration that is in written form, they only have really minor spelling errors and grammar, especially when they're concerning about them abolishing the Department of Education. So if it's good enough for this government, then it's good enough for you to, gloss over education that you don't really need. You just need to know how to push the buttons, to properly do the manual labor, and to properly write the paperwork. Leave the higher education, the critical thinking, to your betters, because they're better at it. It's in the very phrasing. So, yeah. So, and this tripe upon, the real people who will suffer at the loss of the Department of Education. Well, is in red states, the Trump states. Oh, pish posh. That's just that's liberal propaganda. Because in reality, do they really need the education? They're doing just fine. They're just doing just fine. You get rid of the special needs. Don't pay attention to autism. Don't pay attention to any emotional, physical, or mental challenges. I mean, we would save so much money if we no longer respected these people. So, cart them away. Let's go back to the good old days. When America was great. Back then, when we carted all these people that were mentally, emotionally, and physically disabled in one form or another, and we just put them into institutions. Somewhere in the mountains. Somewhere where we don't have to hear about them. So we can just go back to the good old days, and just think we're all living in Donna Reed land. So it would save so much money, and it's all about this money. The gobs and gobs and gobs of money, the sheer liquid money that Doge has been saving us. You'll see that. I mean, they're saving it for the American people. We are saving this money for the American people. I don't know about you, but I can't wait for my $5,000 check. So yeah, I mean, and again, I know so many teachers, and they might disagree with my opinion now that I've seen the light, but but they just don't get it because they're part of the liberal propaganda. The evil DEI, critical race feeling, affirmative action, empathy, bullshit. Or they're giving human respect to every child. They're not supposed to give respect to children. They're children. You're only supposed to respect them mildly when they get old enough to vote, and or you send them off to military. And if they happen to come back, alive and unharmed, then you give them respect. You buy them a beer. But really, you don't need all that edumacations. Not us mid class and lower class folk. We'll just learn enough to know what's not poisonous for us to ingest, and then we'll move on. It'll be perfectly fine. Imagine what we would be saving in the American tax dollars when it's only the CEOs and the politicians' children that are going to college. I mean, the parking lots alone will be far emptier. They could get any space they want. Let's see, when we round up here. Because, again, there's so many things that Donald Trump is right about, but I only have so much time on my hands before I have to go and toil, for the American dream. Let's see, what would be nice? What would be a nice cap? What would be the nice cap for this? I got it. Donald Trump absolutely deserves a third term. They really need to look into it, and yes, dear Donald Trump, our President of the United States, is not joking when he says that they're working on a third term. And he has every right to pursue and achieve a third term. Again, the liberal propaganda would tell you that, once he becomes at the end of this term, he's going to be 82 and he's too old. Too old. Come on. Come on. I mean, sure. We all saw Joe Biden, was doddering at his age, and everybody was going after his age and pointing the finger of him being debilitated and, in decline because of his age. But Donald Trump is not going to do that. I mean, no. Donald Trump is sharp as a tack now. He has made no errors in terms of what he's saying. He doesn't go off in tangents. He is always clear and focused. He gives you straight answers. And, that's going to be the same when he's 82. Or into his third term, up to 86 or 90. Now, sure. In that little pesky document that is the backbone of our rule of law in the United States Constitution, that the 22nd Amendment says a president can't go beyond 2 terms. But that was put in because that evil democratic socialist, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was in there for 4 terms. We can't have that. But that was for him. Sure, it says that any president after him can't have 2 terms, but that is, of course, if there happened to be another democratic socialist coming by. We're looking at you, Bernie Sanders. But that's why we don't even allow we don't even allow Bernie Sanders, at the table. But that did not mean Donald Trump. Did it say specifically Donald Trump on that document? Oh, I don't think so. So, he's totally within his right to seek and achieve that 3rd term. Because America still needs to be great, damn it. And that's the only way for America to be great, if Donald Trump is a president for a 3rd term. So they're gonna work on that. And and maybe with your help, dear American people, if you elect more and more Republicans by the midterms, then not only that you will once again keep Donald Trump safe and happy and free of any consequences that these liberals say that he's breaking laws and rules and shredding the Constitution here and there. No. But if you put enough Republicans in the Congress and Senate, then they can amend and overrule the Constitution. They'll write another amendment. They'll scratch that out. Just like we're going to be scratching out birthright citizenship eventually. That no longer, if you were born here, makes you an American. Again, it's just antiquated things like that. That goes against the other antiquated things that our dear President Donald Trump is actually for, like tariffs and the Alien Sedition Act and the Aliens Enemies Act. He loves those 18th and 19th century concepts. But, the concept that came from the 13th Amendment of birthright citizenship, that was there just to say that any of those pesky folk that we took in bondage from another place, brought over here by the thousands and thousands to make up a big bulk of our population over the years, that their children, after they got freed from the pesky war of northern aggression, that thing over there, that those children are now American, that need to be respected as Americans like every other person who was born in America. Okay, again, that ship has sailed, I suppose. But all these illegal folk, those people who, cross over the border out of desperation, and because our immigration system is so broken, because we have a backlog of people waiting in line to get into our country, that they have no choice. Plus, we lure them in with the promises of jobs to make the desperate people even more desperate to cross the border, or they're already here because they're overstaying their visas. But their children, if they're born here, are instantly American? No, 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 they're not. They're not. You know, their parents are illegal, or at least one parent's illegal. If the other parent happens to be American, well, that's a legal lover, so they have to go too. But those children can't be American. They have to be deported to whatever country they came from, even though they're born in America, which makes them that they would have to be deported back to America. But again, that's logic, that's critical thinking, and that goes against the American way. Critical thinking is DEI, critical race theory, nonsense. It's woke. We don't like that. We don't like wokeness. No. So, that will go away because eventually, but it requires you to vote for every Republican you personally can to make the Republican presence in the Congress and the Senate so robust that nothing legislatively can be denied to our great President Trump. The golden age is coming, but it requires you to give up your critical thinking, give up the American genius known as compromise, get rid of that bullshit. Self and human respect and empathy, those touchy-feely concepts of liberalism, get rid of that too. It's just hard, just hard fist way. If your kids have problems, just slap them in the face and say, "Sit down, study." I don't care what your problems are. Me. And then, but do you have that? Then it's all in the bag. It's all smooth sailing from here on out. And if you suffer some pain because the prices of eggs are too high, or anything that you want to buy is now too high, don't blame it on the tariffs. No. Why would you blame it on something that is a 19th century concept in a 21st century world? No. Blame it on anything else. Don't blame it on this administration. It's all Biden's fault. Still Biden's fault. It's always going to be Biden's fault. Just blame him when you can't buy eggs. Blame him when the price of a car that you're trying to buy, that you've been saving up money for, just shot up $3,000. It's Biden's fault. That's not true. That's not Trump's fault. That's not this Republican Party's fault. That's not the concept of these tariffs' fault. No. No. It's been too long that we thought of our individualism as so special, that our personal rights should be so sacred that cannot be, destroyed if the will of the government or the will of the country demands it. And what I mean by the will of the country, I mean the will of our President Donald Trump. For the good of the country, if you have an argument against this administration, well, first, they'll find a way to deport you, which you deserve. But if, in lieu of that, the hardships that may come to you, obviously you'll deserve. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. Don't fight back. Comply. Think of all the suffering that people have gone through if they just complied. I mean, I'm sure there's a segment of our population of the other part of the only two genders totally understands the idea that if you just complied, if you just surrendered, give in, let it happen, then there wouldn't be any violence. Just accept the reality in the moment. I mean, Donald Trump has a history of that. If only certain people complied, then there wouldn't be any pesky legal issues, or no one would be no one would vote that he was liable for certain activities with somebody, unwantedly, inserting digits into people, if they just complied, then it just goes over fine. It smooths over. Just play ball. We will only reach the golden age that is prophesied by our President Trump, who was saved by God, who bent the bullet at Butler to make sure a firefighter with a family died, as opposed to Donald Trump, who is righteously calling for the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, or the complete surrender of Ukraine to Putin, ordained by God, because he saved him. If all just complied, it would just go over nicely. It would just be fine. America would be great again if you only just complied. The Ranter rants. Because it is April 1st and it's fucking April Fool's Day. If you believe any of the bullshit that I just said, you are all full of shit. You know me better than that. April Fools.